My presentation is entitled Intercultural in Moldova and Complex Perceptions of European Integration. And yes, I know that you have a representative of our NGO sector from Moldova here to tell about projects implemented. I will tell you also about some results. But I decided to present the threats to European integration, as we discussed yesterday. Based on partnership is perceived more in the framework of European integration in Moldova, not only as we realized yesterday. So my presentation is about some threats to European path of the Republic of Moldova, however, that is perceived as a success story in the framework of this partnership. A little bit about European aspirations of the Republic of Moldova. Well, we know that in 2007, when Moldova became the immediate neighbor of the European Union, its European aspirations had already been officially set as the priority of foreign policy in Moldova and its overall development trajectory. In 2005, took place the called rebranding of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is called now Ministry of Foreign Affairs and European Integration, which is paradoxical. It was during the communist government, which today is a main opponent of European integration in Moldova. So to mention that 2009 is actually the point of no return for Moldovan vector of foreign policy and development, because in 2009, after the power shift in Moldova after the revolution and actually the launch of the Eastern Partnership, our pro-European course was strengthened, and it made it possible for Moldova to track within a short period of time record of success. However, I have not thought that it means Moldova has solved all the problems. But strong ambitions and the willingness of pro-European coalition to carry out deep reforms, at least it is declared officially, in all spheres, have been appreciated in the EU. And the efforts undertaken by Moldova towards European integration paved the way for negotiation of association agreement and deep and comprehensive free trade area, which Moldova expects to issue at the upcoming summit of Eastern Partnership in Vilnius this fall. Signing these documents, as well as participation of Moldova in Eastern Partnership, as having many times told, do not promise EU membership for Moldova, which is perceived by Moldovan citizens. But in fact, it opens broad prospects for closer cooperation and reducing development gap. However, it's really strange because the European integration is the official vector of our foreign policy and overall development of the country. There is no consensus on this issue and generally on following the right path of Moldova. And it's really difficult to deepen the dialogue with the EU, having this East-West divide, and it raised doubts among Western partners about sustainability of Moldova's pro-European path. And this uncertainty hinders the overall development of the country and adversely affects its image. The Republic of Moldova, unfortunately, could be perceived, from my point of view, the republic that is disunited in diversity, while the motto of the European Union is united in diversity. Why I think so? There can be nation without state, we know, but not a state without nation. Unfortunately, since the 1990s, the Republic of Moldova persistently proves the opposite. As Charles Heath once mentioned, Moldovan nationalism turned out to be a nationalism that succeeded in being an independent state, but not an independent nation. It is a very controversial issue of Moldovan identity. What is who is Moldovan? And this makes many problems for our integration in society, in the framework of our society. But you can see on the slide that we have different ethnic groups living in Moldova, making our country multicultural. one. Why use Moldovans/Romanians? Because of this identity confused with the majority of our population who identify themselves Moldovans, Romanians, or vice versa, or who have no idea on how to identify themselves. And we have ethnic minorities with a large like Ukrainians, 8.4, Russians, Yazidis, Bulgarians, and other ethnic minorities. In addition to ethnic, there is clear linguistic diversity in Moldova, and we know that Moldovans are mostly bilingual. Romanian as official language of the state and Russian as language of inter-ethnic communication dominate everyday life. Why use Romanian? Because it's also like language issues over-politicized in Moldova, because the Moldovan constitution says that the official language is Moldovan. However, people acknowledge that Romanian is language of speak. The politicization of language issue represents one of major social cleavages, and it goes hand in hand with so-called ethnicization of politics or politicization of ethnicity. There is a clear understanding that ethnic and linguistic sentiment is widely used as a tool of pressure for political purposes of certain groups and leaders. And there is a tough confrontation at the level of political discourse in which, unfortunately, European integration plays a role, so-called trump card, as for the supporters, so as for the opponents of integration, which shapes our overall public discourse. And as a result, Moldovan citizens see a complete picture of a package of reform in the framework of the European dialogue, which is somehow limited to populist declarations on the abolition of visa regime. So it is quite popular, and people know more about visa regime in the framework of European integration. At the low level of political culture in Moldova, in the widespread Homo Sovieticus mentality, which I call Homo Sovieticus, which is now used notion, it made possible for some political leaders to take out of context convenient details and in order to gain some political dividends and thus influence public perceptions, provoking dichotomy and split in the society. The dichotomy in public discourse results in actual people's inability to realize the necessity of democratization and modernization of Moldova. Well, you can see this figure, according to a recent post of April 2013, 53% of Moldovans did not know or did not answer the question of whether, there are three, to tell three important European advantages of European integration. And those who answered, among them, 20% told that it's free movement of people across borders, jobs, and better standards of living. And that's obvious because recent years have been filled with expectations of liberalized visa regime which infiltrated our public discourse. And expectations have not been realized yet, and Moldovans, we can say, become more skeptical about the possible outcomes of European integration process, giving preference to populist but more plausible declarations about cheap gas from Russia, trade benefits, and jobs at generic Eurasian Union. Significant role in public discourse plays so-called patron states, Moldova, pattern-like influence in a way the course of development. Romania and Russia are among the most influential in Moldova. And we know Romania naturally supports the European integration course of Moldova, being our advocate in the European Union, which is highly appreciated. At the same time, Russia is not concealing its negative attitude to the pro-European course and use all possible tools in its foreign policy arsenal to handle it. And both Romania and Russia have lately increased their soft power efforts in Moldova, which is manifested to somewhere passportization of our citizens, and it is a kind of competition and passportization in Moldova, and which is interesting, some Moldovans managed to get passports of both Romania and Russia, such proving that they have little or nothing to do with ethnic or historical sentiment, and it's just a way, this opportunity to make border crossing easier, to find good jobs and good life abroad. This Petro state allocate considerable resources for cultural and educational programs in Moldova, and Romania is the undisputed leader in this phase. Russia, in turn, dominates our media market, which is a very important instrument in the hands of Russia, as again in the polls, April 2013, they say that 81% of Moldovan citizens watch TV every day, and 31% consider it as the main source of information, where 57% trust what TV says. So it is important too for Russia. And Russia also remains our main trading partner, as well as the main destination of our labor force migration. And sure, everybody knows that Russia holds a key to conflict resolution in Transnistria, our breakaway region, being the main source of funding in this region, so that it still managed to stay afloat. Russia's pressure is actually growing, and particularly in recent time, in the context of recent developments in Transnistria, which we could notice without an equipped eye, because the approach of the coming summit in Vilnius. In November 2012, Transnistria presented its so-called foreign policy concept, where it declared Eurasian integration as top priority. Then in the spring, this followed a series of incidents on the so-called border with Moldova, and the Barnica and Bender checkpoints. And then in June, they issued their so-called lower state border of Transnistria. And among one of some recent developments, which are some of our experts see the hand of Russia, is organizing of Eurasian Popular Front of Moldova, which would make some maybe like manifestations and demonstration of Eurasian course followers in autumn 2013, right in the period of the summit. Our another region, which is not breakaway, however, it is our autonomous region, Gagauzia, is also leaves much to be desired, like as according to the stabilizing situation in Moldova, because in the autonomy the ground is tested by frequent calls of serious, like frequent calls to hold a referendum, like on independence from Moldova. And the situation somehow I can analyze it and characterize as created because of serious mistakes made by our central government and their unpopular policy towards ethnic minorities, probably. However, I do not support the idea that Gagauzia could move towards independence, and the polls of 2012 say that only 0.5% of the population see Gagauzia in future independent. So this is kind of game of provocations for the country and its European path. But unpopular policy of our central authorities make it really easy for Russia, who is willing to strengthen its position and its influence in the region under the umbrella of protection of Russian-speaking minorities, and it naturally results in their acceptance of a pro-Russian position by the latter. And this east-west divide is very clear in Moldova. Well, to be more clear to data, according to the poll that I mentioned several times, April 2013, 52% of Moldovan citizens would vote for joining the customs union Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, which is supposed to be the future of the Eurasian Union. 51% would vote for Moldova's accession to the EU, but in case of a given choice between those two integration projects, one of which, as I mentioned earlier, is chimeric at the moment, Eurasian Union, you can see that 52% of Moldovans didn't answer when they are asked to choose which of them, so they do not know which one to choose. And you can see that only 19% openly support the European path without any frustration. And we can see a rather deep divide in society, which is visible in the ethnic breakdown. And we can see that this East-West divide is very, we can see a dangerous divide in 50-50% undecided or no answer society. So this is ethnic breakdown, where Romanian, where again it is used Moldovan/Romanian, where Romanian speakers, 60% are for European integration. In the question is asked whether to join the European Union, and you can see the figures. Like for example, for the Eurasian Union, again we see some really big amount, which means that they are not really decided. Clear no decision. And then you can see, again, the ethnic backgrounds, no answer or undecided. If you join them together, a rather big figure, which means that there is deep split in the society, and it is quite visible ethnic background. Well, it makes us think really hard about this 50-50% of divided society in the Republic of Moldova. However, my concern is not whether one or another party or coalition is in power or will come to power in Moldova, because unfortunately, regardless of their names and programs, they choose European integration mostly as their folding screen, and not as the real path we would like to persuade in the development of the country. And my concern is lack of clearly politicized public awareness of importance of pro-European vector of development, not as a EU membership obsession, which, like for example, is somehow seen some our citizens, or as the only possibility for Romanian speakers to reunite with Romania, or as a visa-free regime, or any other similar preferences which are limited by narrow interests, but as an overall possibility to reconsider mentality or understand, accept, and share values of Republic of Moldova. So here I wanted to show you a painting, which is old painting of my husband. He called it a butterfly that is not able to fly, which is Moldova. Its target is European integration, but it is divided between East and West without no possibility to fly. But I'd like to continue with cultural diplomacy as maybe a tool to solve some situation and foster the intercultural dialogue in the Republic of Moldova. And I'll be finishing very soon, sorry. What I strongly support is the NGO sector that can promote our citizen diplomacy and our cultural diplomacy and fostering, as I mentioned, intercultural dialogue as a prospect of strategic development in the Republic of Moldova. Knowing that many our parties and alliances are have beautiful headers, beautiful programs, but without very strong content, they are in permanent struggle for redistribution of power, and where personal or business interest dominates and not the interest of the country. I think that it's true civil society that has to be developed in Moldova to persuade our European path, because all people and their basic needs, they need the same, their needs are similar, like desire to live in a democratic, prosperous state, free from corruption and betraying authorities, with rights to ensure citizens that are given priority and respected. A former German ambassador, Nicholas Graf Lambsdorff, mentioned during one of his presentations that Moldova should be promoted in Brussels as a model of ethnic diversity. And the ambassador repeatedly stated that every Moldovan multi-ethnic population is its main asset. And I agree with the ambassador, because no matter what language you speak or what is your ethnic background, it is important what values you share, and I think that must be realized by Moldovans. And to make it happen, we need a strong civil society which is following all values which are on basis of the European Union. And I think it is possible to develop our NGO sector, which has this direction to intended to strengthen civil society and political culture, and specifically civic engagement, and particularly among youth people. And we have several records of NGO, but these efforts and their results maybe need and should encompass more people and go beyond the theoretical concepts which are mostly promoted by them, and they need more practical implementation, bringing together citizens of different ethnic and linguistic background and engaging directly in the process of modernization, democratization of the country. That is why I consider that citizen diplomacy is important, and cultural diplomacy is an important tool of it. Part of it is very important to develop civil society in Moldova. Among some of the achievements and some of the possibilities to do that are, in my opinion, civil society Forum of Eastern Partnership, which is a framework of multilateral track of cooperation, and which is very prominent that the next Civil Society Forum will take place in Chisinau in October this year, which is a really good platform for NGOs to cooperate, to develop some interesting projects. I would mention that Eurodays in Moldova as intercultural dialogue are very popular, and this year was kind of breakthrough because the Eurodays were held also in Transnistria, which was like, oh, really? And also I would like to mention the Eastern Partnership Minorities Network, which is a recent tool, again, recent project with an Eastern Partnership country, and the program aims to help minorities and minority communities to better integrate in society and to participate more actively in designing reforms that influence the decision-making process in their countries, and not only their countries, but in the context of the Eastern Partnership. So therefore, I see some really positive trends, and I see some real possibilities fostering this intercultural dialogue in Moldova and overcoming this split in the society via cultural diplomacy. You may think I'm too idealistic, but I really hope that cultural, and I really strongly believe that cultural diplomacy could be really helpful in bridging the gaps in our divided society, fostering mutual understanding, and laying the ground for people-to-people contacts, being attracted by youth, who you can see again from the slide, who will be in charge of our states, and they strongly support our pro-European cause of development. So we need to increase this number and to help. So yes, I strongly support the idea that the cultural diplomacy and the framework of our international cooperation, and specifically Eastern Partnership, will become and could become an indispensable part of modern diplomacy. Thank you very much.